There have been some massive changes to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and in particular, how the military handles sexual assault cases that is now in play now that we're in 2024. The biggest piece of this is what's called the OSTC, or the Office of the Special Trial Counsel, which has been stood up. Now, what this essentially does is it takes away from the convening authority or the commanding general the power and the authority to prefer and refer charges of sexual assault. And there's some other enumerated charges as well. But the big one here is sexual assault. So the days of the commander or the general court-martial convening authority having the decision to prosecute or not prosecute sexual assault cases, which is the way it's been for the entire history under the UCMJ, those days are effectively over. And now the decision to prosecute rests with the OSTC, or the Office of the Special Trial Counsel. And those are individuals or their JAG officers who've been especially appointed or given assignments that are outside of the chain of command, and they make the prosecution decisions. This is a sweeping change under the military, and what it is supposed to do is make a more independent decision on cases that are going to go to, on sexual assault cases which are going to be prosecuted. The theory is, and it's a good theory, that commanding generals who are part of the command, they don't have the experience, they don't have the legal knowledge to make determinations on cases like sexual assault. So those are now left to very senior prosecutors within this OSTC. So that is a sweeping change. And what is supposed to happen is more cases, I don't know if it's more or less cases, but better cases of sexual assault are the ones that are supposed to be tried. And so one of the big criticisms under the UCMJ was that sexual assault cases were being swept under the rug. We've been hearing this since I joined the military, and that cry has been very loud in the last decade, even more recently in the last years, that cases of sexual assault are being swept under the rug, and they're being swept under the rug by these commanding generals who don't want to prosecute their own soldiers. Well, this is Congress's take, this is the media's take, but anyone who's been in the trenches or in the UCMJ system knows this is complete nonsense. And because where we're at now, at least prior to these OSTCs, or these Office of Special Trial Counsel standing up, is that almost every case of sexual assault gets referred to a court-martial or they get charged. And so even if you have cases where it's a he said, she said case, where there's no real compelling evidence, there's no forensic evidence, oftentimes there's these motives to fabricate, and all of the parties really know either this didn't happen, or there's not enough to go forward, or there's never going to have a conviction in a court-martial. But what we're seeing, or what we've been seeing over the last decade or even more, is that these commanding generals and also the JAG leadership who's advising them, they're so worried about their career, and they're so worried about how it's going to look to the public if they don't bring these charges forward, that they're discharging everyone right and left. And so that what's happened is now we have this guilty until proven innocent mantra in the military, where if you're accused of sexual assault, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to get charged and it's going to go to trial, which is why we see, frankly, a lot of acquittals and a lot of cases that don't result in conviction, not because the JAG Corps is not doing their job prosecuting the case, but they're taking absolute garbage to trial. And in taking absolute garbage to trial, what's happening is these soldiers are getting screwed over. I put out a lot of content about how service members are charged, they're pending an investigation for sometimes 6 months to a year. It takes another year to go to trial. And then we have 30-minute acquittals, and where a jury looks at this and 30 minutes later or an hour later, they say not guilty. Well, how the hell does that happen? Is that just great lawyering? Well, there's part of it that is good lawyering, but a lot of these cases should never have gone to trial. But now what the interesting piece is, we're going to see if more of these types of garbage cases keep going to trial under this OSTC system, because now it is no longer the commanding general who's making the call. It's a senior attorney who there is some criteria that they need to evaluate each case by to make a determination of whether they can obtain and sustain a conviction at trial. So in theory, what should be happening, we'll see how this plays out, is we should see less charges of sexual assault going forward, because in theory, these are senior experienced prosecutors who should be able to look through a case, evaluate a case, and weed out garbage allegations and allegations which are real. If you want to reach out to me and do a consultation and take this to the next level, give me a call at 813-669-3500 or reach out to us on our website, www.bileckilawgroup.com.